had a conversation with Arizona's top economist, Jim Rounds, to talk about Peoria and its future economic development capability.
In terms of the ROI and making the investment in the economy, and you also mentioned that it creates extra revenue that can be used on other things. Can you elaborate on that? Because that is probably one of the key fundamentals that policymakers should understand, and most of them don't.
Well, it's ironic that we're sitting in front of these two because this is exactly what my what my focus was over the last couple of years. For us, as a business, we focused the profit that we made back into our business, and we focused on where we could actually get the future return on investment. So these two pieces of equipment that are behind me, they took long-term planning. It didn't just come all of a sudden. You don't build pieces of equipment like this overnight. They took 3 years to actually build. They took 5 years of planning to actually build the building that we're sitting in, and it took really, really strong foundational principles to be focused on what our future goals were as a business. If you're going to drive revenue, you have to reinvest back into your city's economic development, right? So taking the principles of business and applying that to our city. If we're not focused on the future of our city, we're not ever going to realize our full potential as an economic development powerhouse in our city. So meaning that we're going to eventually end up having to raise taxes on people because we're not driving a stronger revenue principles. And to do that, you have to reinvest back into your city. So the return on investment to me as our city is, what are we doing to actually bring those businesses to play in our city? What are we doing to bring a hospital that's actually in our city? Because we have no hospital in our city. We have lots of doctors' offices. We have great doctors here. We've got great chiropractors. We've got great physical therapists. What are we doing to actually bring an actual hospital to our city? We failed this last year. And my plan to do that is actually to sit down with people in the first 60 to 90 days, developers and hospitals, and actually sit down with them and go, what is it going to do to actually make that happen? And my intent is in the first 24 months to actually have under construction a hospital in the city of Peoria. The difference in that language from me as a business owner is because I'm driving that vision forward, right? And I think that as a business owner is the same thing that we need in our city today. We need that principle of driving vision, being uninterrupted in the process. There's lots of things that can distract you from focusing on your goal, right? And the same thing happens in the city all the time. I think that driven focus of what the goal-oriented concept is at the end of that is how you actually drive your return on investment. If you don't have that mentality, and you mentioned there's a lot of people in the state legislature that don't have that mentality, and it's just because they haven't really dug into it. They haven't really looked at what the future of our city or our county or our state is, to where they realize that you could solve a lot of these problems if you actually drive revenue first. It doesn't mean that revenue is the end all be all. We need city services, we need to be able to take care of people, you've got human factors that are involved, but the dollar that you actually drive is something that you don't have today. It's a dollar. Every dollar that you drive in revenue is a dollar that you're not having to focus on the tax dollar. And it's not just the business principles of growth. It's also the business principles of focusing on debt reduction as well. You know, we've got a lot of city debt. We've got a huge cost of our city pensions, both for fire and police, that we actually need to pay down. And so the point being is you have to be very beam-a-light focused on how you're going to reduce that debt. If I'm reducing debt from city pensions, I'm driving interest dollar back into my pocket, which means that I'm actually driving that focus back on the actual principles of the city. The taxpayers are the ones that are actually providing us that dollar to actually invest in our city's future. So we should be focused on how we're returning that dollar back to the citizen. To learn more about the campaign, please visit our website at beckformayor.com.